How's everybody doing? Centennial 76 back with you here. And since we're doing the project on a 1993 K1500, where I'm doing the 2.5-inch suspension lift on it, or differential drop, however you want to look at it. Now I do have the differential drop brackets and everything to bolt in. I also have the 2-inch drop arms from Skyjacker to put in. Now before that, I did just a set of torsion keys. Then I put the my rear lift on it. I just felt like I didn't like where the vehicle had a little bit of rake on it. So I'm in the process of unbolting and undoing everything so that I can do the differential drop and the A-arms and the brakes. I'm kind of going all the way out to do the front end. So when I took my torsion key adjusters out and the stopper blocks here, these are some that I had bought that I put in. They're aftermarket that I got off, I think, Amazon's where I got these. And they are a little bit different looking than your stock ones. So they do give you a longer bolt than what your stock is. But the purpose of that I can figure out is most people can use these without doing keys on them to get a longer lift. Or these are supposed to work from 88 Chevy trucks up to, say, I think 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. Versus my stock ones here, as you can see, they set a little shorter, but it really doesn't matter there. What matters the most on it is just once I have my aftermarket keys in, which are supposed to give me up to a 3-inch lifts themselves with your stock blocks, that, you know, it doesn't really matter. But these, once I took them out, I don't like the way they wore. I had some problems with the way the threads look. They don't want to go back in just right into these blocks. So I'm not putting these back in. I don't just throw away parts like I've mentioned in some of my other videos, so that's why I do still have my stock ones. I took and cleaned these up, and these are what's going to go back into the 93 when I put everything back in. Now, the big difference here, I've not turned them since I've cleaned them up. So at this point, I can't get them out. But the big difference for me and what I like better, these have a flat tip on the end of the bolt. I didn't much care for that. On my stock bolts here, they have a rounded point to them, which actually goes up into the little, you know, cutout indentation in the torsion keys. And if the keys move or adjust, it allows it to kind of pivot just a little bit on the end of the screw without causing any damage. Now, I hadn't drove this truck a whole lot after I had put these aftermarket keys on it and adjusters, but what I'm seeing that gave me damage, and that's what caused me to mess up my threads, is looking here on the ends, is the way that they set into my torsion keys. It's kind of got like where it beveled the edge of the bolts here, and I can even see a pattern on the top of them. You may not be able to see them on camera, but I can here. So that, in my opinion, is what basically, because it's messed up the top of my threads here on both bolts. When I unthreaded them, it pretty much caused it to fucking cross thread my threads on these. So I wasn't happy with that. I thought about buying another set of them. Then I thought, well, no, if these did that, another set's going to do the same thing. And like I said, I don't throw out my old parts, so I still had these. Give me just a second here. I'm going to see if I can take and actually run these back out right quick, because I want you to see the bevel on the top. That way you'll understand what I'm talking about, why I decided to go back with the originals. So give me a couple seconds here. Let me step off camera and do just a tad bit of twisting. Alrighty, and back on camera I come here. So, and like I said, the biggest difference is I do have this bevel built into the top of them, and that itself will allow it to move just a little bit if the bars tweak like they do, without hitting my threads here and messing up my bolt, which, like I said, these are the factory ones. There is no problem with these. They're not messed up. I was just, being the typical, hey, we're putting on new parts on it person, so let's put new parts on it. Normally, I'm not always like that, but I was with this. Now, let me grab you one other thing here. And these are the ones off of my 98 K1500, which I did clean these back up at the same time I was doing these. I do have a set of these that are on the 98, but I haven't had a problem with them because I've not had to take them back off the truck. But if I ever do, I'm pretty sure I'll have the same problem. So that's why I cleaned these back up. Now the 98s are designed even a little bit different on their bolt tops. The threads are way further down and you got more of a pivot point. I was going to stick these in the 93 instead of the ones that originally came out of it, but then I thought, well, at some point, if I have to do something with my 98 and I have to pull, these adjusters / keepers back out of it, I'm going to probably end up having the same damn problem just because the way the end of the bolts are on it here. Let me, one more time, I'm sorry, my video's kind of running longer than it should. But if you'll look, you can see the big difference between these bolts and what's basically probably caused my cross threading at the top of my threads here. But anyways, so it's a good idea to sometimes keep some of your stock parts and don't just, get rid of them. Of course, I actually have a shop and a garage here that I have the ability to have space to keep things like this. Now for each truck, like the 93, I haven't had it that long. Maybe I'm going on about a little over 6 months, close to 7 months now. I do have one drawer that's in my storage boxes and stuff. It's literally just for parts for the 93. My 98, I've had it since it was brand new. That's obviously what drawer these go into. A lot of stuff in that drawer because, like I said, I've had the truck since it was new. But, little parts like this is what I keep. And things like this is why I keep those parts. Because, sometimes I get new parts. They're great. I have no problems out of them. And I'll never need the old part again, except for, let's say I have the vehicle long enough and later down the road, this particular part breaks and there's just no availability for a new part, which that does happen from time to time with things. So that's why I went with, the ability of keeping parts so I have them for later on down the road. But anyways, this is a little video to keep you informed of what's going on with the 93 as far as me getting the suspension done and the lift kit put into it, and just a little issue that I came across and I figured I'd share with y'all. But if y'all will, stick along with our videos, keep up with the progress of the videos. I've got further vehicles that in the future that it's going to do. You will realize by watching my channel long enough that I mainly deal with Chevrolet stuff. But if you will, like, subscribe, comment, follow, and share. Until next time, everybody have a wonderful day. Centennial 76 out.